He walked into his world with one goal: destroy him. He was a billionaire, a mafia king, a man who had never loved anyone but power. What she didn't expect was that the man she was sent to ruin would become the only one who could break her heart. This is not a love story. It's a war disguised as romance. Have a wonderful day. Relax and enjoy the story. New York never truly slept. It only pretended to rest, its heart still beating beneath neon lights and endless ambition. Ava Morgan stood at the edge of Fifth Avenue, clutching her coat tighter as the cold night wind sliced through her. The city lights reflected in her dark eyes, but her mind was somewhere else. 6 years in the past, buried beneath grief, betrayal, and a promise she had never broken. Tonight wasn't about memories. Tonight was about destiny. She checked her phone again. Unknown number. Car is waiting. Be careful. Ava swallowed. This was it. She stepped into the black luxury sedan, the door closing behind her with a sound that felt final, like a coffin lid sealing shut. Inside, the leather smelled expensive. Dangerous. Power. The driver said nothing as the car moved smoothly through Manhattan, heading toward the most exclusive private auction house in the city, where Luca DeSantis would be. Luca DeSantis was not just a billionaire. He was a myth. A man whose name never appeared in headlines, yet controlled industries, governments, and criminal empires from the shadows. They called him the Ghost King because people crossed him and then simply disappeared. 37 years old. Italian blood. American empire. And responsible, directly or indirectly, for the night Ava's entire life had burned to the ground. She didn't know him personally yet, but she knew enough. And tonight she would finally see the devil she had sworn to destroy. The auction hall was a cathedral of wealth. Crystal chandeliers, polished marble floors, whispered conversations dripping with money and secrets. Ava blended in perfectly. Simple black dress. Hair pulled back. Minimal makeup. Elegant. Forgettable. Or so she thought. The moment Luca DeSantis entered the room, the air changed. Conversations died. Eyes followed him. Fear dressed as respect filled the space. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in an immaculate charcoal suit. His dark hair was brushed back carelessly as if perfection required no effort from him. But it was his eyes that stopped Ava's breath. Cold, calculated, and painfully alive. Steel mixed with fire. Luca DeSantis didn't smile when people greeted him. He acknowledged them the way a king acknowledged servants. Until his gaze landed on her. Just for a second. But that second stretched. Ava felt it like a hand closing around her throat. He frowned slightly as if trying to place her. As if she were a detail he hadn't anticipated. And for the first time in years, Luca DeSantis was distracted. The auction began. Ava barely heard the bids. Her pulse roared too loudly in her ears. She had studied him for months. Learned his routines. His habits. His weaknesses. But nothing had prepared her for the raw presence of the man. He wasn't cruel looking. He wasn't monstrous. He was devastatingly controlled. That was worse. A sudden voice beside her made her flinch. First time here. She turned and came face to face with him. Up close, Luca DeSantis was overwhelming. He towered over her slightly, his expression unreadable, his voice smooth but edged with authority. Yes, Ava replied carefully. Is it that obvious? One corner of his mouth lifted, not quite a smile. You're not pretending, he said. Everyone else here is. Her heart skipped. Interesting. And you? She asked. What are you pretending to be? His eyes darkened. Nothing. The honesty in that single word sent a shiver through her spine. Before she could respond, a staff member rushed over, whispering urgently into Luca's ear. His jaw tightened. Excuse me, he said, already turning away. Then he stopped. Looked back at her. You shouldn't be here alone, he added quietly. This city eats people like you. Ava met his gaze, her voice steady. Maybe I'm not as harmless as I look. Something dangerous flashed in his eyes. Good, Luca said. Neither am I. And then he walked away, leaving Ava frozen, heart racing, mind spiraling. Because one terrifying truth had just become clear. Luca DeSantis hadn't just noticed her. He had felt her. Later that night, as Ava stood outside waiting for her car, rain began to fall, soft at first, then relentless. She didn't notice the black SUV until it stopped beside her. The window rolled down. Luca DeSantis sat inside. "Get in," he said. "That wasn't a request." "I don't," Ava began. "You're being followed," he interrupted calmly. "If you don't get in, you won't make it home." Her breath caught. She hesitated only a moment before opening the door. The car pulled away instantly. Silence filled the space between them. Then Luca spoke. "Tell me," he said, eyes fixed on the road, "what's your name?" "Ava." "Ava," he repeated slowly. "Why do I feel like you didn't meet me by accident?" Her heart pounded. Because he was right. And because falling in love with him was never part of the plan. But destroying him was. The rain fell harder against the windows as the black SUV cut through the city like a blade. Ava sat stiffly in the passenger seat, every instinct screaming at her to escape. Yet her body refused to move. Luca DeSantis didn't look at her. That was somehow worse. He drove with calm precision, one hand on the steering wheel, the other resting casually on his thigh, as if he weren't transporting a stranger whose pulse was racing out of control. "You didn't answer my question," he said at last. Ava swallowed. "What question?" "Why I feel like you already knew who I was before tonight." Her fingers curled into her coat. "Careful. One wrong word could end everything." "I work in finance," she said evenly. "People like you don't stay invisible forever." Pause. Then Luca smiled. Not with humor. With understanding. "Everyone lies," he said. "The smart ones lie well." Her chest tightened. "And you?" Ava asked. "Do you lie?" He finally looked at her. "No," Luca said. "I let people believe what they want." The car turned sharply, entering a private underground garage guarded by armed men. Ava's breath caught. This wasn't just wealth. This was power enforced by violence. The gates closed behind them with a metallic echo that sounded like a warning. Luca's penthouse wasn't what Ava expected. No gold. No excess. Just sharp lines, glass walls, dark stone, and the city stretching endlessly below, as if he owned it all. He removed his jacket slowly, placing it aside with deliberate calm. "You're safe here," he said. "For tonight." "For tonight," Ava repeated. His eyes flicked to her. "People who follow my guests usually don't have good intentions." A chill crawled up her spine. "Who was following me?" she asked. Luca poured himself a drink, amber liquid swirling in crystal. "The kind of men who don't ask questions," he said. "And don't forgive curiosity." That confirmed it. He was already in too deep. "You're not afraid," Luca observed. "I am," Ava said honestly. "I just don't show it." That earned a real reaction. He studied her now, not as prey but as a puzzle. "Most women who enter my life want something," he said. "Money. Protection. Status." "And you?" Ava asked softly. "I want the truth." Her heart pounded. He stepped closer. Too close. "You don't belong in rooms like that auction," Luca continued. "And yet you walked in like you owned the place." He reached out, slowly, and brushed a raindrop from her cheek. The touch was brief. Controlled. But it sent electricity through her. "You're either very brave," he murmured, "or very dangerous." Ava met his gaze. Maybe both. Something shifted. From interest to obsession. Later that night, Ava stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, pretending to admire the skyline while Luca spoke quietly into his phone behind her. "Yes," he said. "Cancel the shipment." Pause. No witnesses. Her stomach twisted. This was it. The man who had destroyed her family wasn't a ghost. He was standing 10 feet behind her, alive, powerful, and completely unaware that the woman in his penthouse was his enemy. She should have felt triumph. Instead, she felt something far worse. Conflict. When Luca ended the call, silence returned. "You can take the guest room," he said. "Security will escort you in the morning." Ava turned. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. He considered the question. "Because trouble follows you," he said. "And I want to know why." He walked past her, stopping at the doorway. "One more thing, Ava." "Yes." "If you're running from something," he said quietly, "make sure it doesn't catch you." The door closed behind him. Ava's knees nearly gave out. She pressed a hand to her chest. Because the most dangerous part of her mission wasn't killing Luca DeSantis. It was surviving the way he made her feel. And somewhere deep inside her, a terrifying thought formed. If he ever discovered the truth, he wouldn't hesitate to destroy her. Morning came quietly. Too quietly. Ava woke in a room that didn't feel like a guest room. It felt like a sanctuary built for someone who never truly rested. Dark walls. Minimal furniture. A city skyline framed like a painting beyond the glass. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then reality crashed back in. Luca DeSantis. The man responsible for everything she had lost. And the man who had unknowingly offered her protection. She dressed quickly, smoothing her expression into calm neutrality before stepping out into the penthouse. That's when she heard voices. Male. Dangerous. She froze. "She's clean," one voice said. "No digital footprint worth flagging." Ava recognized the accent. Italian. Loyal. "And the men following her?" Luca asked. "Independent contractors. Not police. Not rivals." Silence. Then Luca spoke again. "Keep watching her." Ava's pulse spiked. She stepped back just as Luca turned the corner. For a fraction of a second, something unreadable crossed his face, as if he knew she had heard more than she should have. But then it vanished. "Good morning," he said smoothly. "Did you sleep?" "Yes," Ava replied. "Thank you for last night." He gestured toward the kitchen. "Coffee." She nodded, forcing herself to breathe normally. This was the first rule of survival in Luca DeSantis's world. Never let him see you flinch. By noon, Ava realized something unsettling. Luca wasn't interrogating her. He wasn't pressuring her. Instead, he was integrating her. A black car waited downstairs, not to take her home but to take her with him. "Where are we going?" she asked. "A meeting," Luca replied. "You said you work in finance. I want your opinion." Her heart stuttered. This wasn't part of the plan. "I didn't realize I was being interviewed," Ava said lightly. He glanced at her. "You're not," he said. "You're being trusted." That was worse. The building they entered wasn't marked. No signs. No logos. Just armed security and absolute silence. Inside, men stood when Luca walked in. Not out of courtesy. Out of fear. Ava felt it instantly. The shift, the way conversations stopped, the way eyes assessed her as a potential threat. Or weakness. Luca placed a hand at the small of her back. Not possessive, not intimate. Proactive. A silent message. "She's with me." The meeting began. Numbers. Shipping routes. International investments that blurred the line between legal and lethal. Ava listened carefully. Too carefully. She realized then that Luca wasn't just a mafia boss hiding behind business. He was a strategist. Every move calculated. Every risk measured. This wasn't a monster. This was a king. And kings didn't fall easily. "You've been quiet," Luca said later once they were alone again. "I was listening," Ava replied. "Most people talk too much." His eyes lingered on her. "I don't like people who listen," he said. "They learn too fast." She met his gaze. Then why keep me close? He stepped nearer. So I can see what you do with what you learn. The air between them tightened. Ava felt it. The pull, the dangerous gravity drawing her closer to him. This was how he destroyed people. Not with violence. With attention. That night the attack came without warning. Gunfire shattered the calm. Ava barely had time to react before Luca grabbed her, pulling her down as glass exploded behind them. Shouts. Footsteps. Chaos. Luca moved like a predator. Fast, controlled, lethal. Stay behind me, he ordered. She did. Not because she was weak, but because she trusted him. That realization terrified her. Minutes later, silence returned. Bodies were gone. Blood cleaned. Evidence erased. As if it had never happened. Except Ava was shaking. Luca noticed. He took her wrists gently, grounding her. You're safe, he said firmly. Her breath hitched. She wasn't shaking from fear. She was shaking because she had seen him kill. And still, she didn't want to leave. Later, standing on the balcony, the city lights blurring with her thoughts, Ava finally spoke. People will keep coming, she said. Because of me. Luca didn't deny it. Yes, he said. They will. Then I should go. He turned to her slowly. No, Luca said. Then you should stay. Her heart dropped. That makes me a target, Ava whispered. His gaze softened just slightly. You already are. A beat. And if I stay, she asked. Then you belong to my world, he replied. And I protect what's mine. The word echoed between them. Ava should have walked away. Instead she nodded. Because somewhere between revenge and survival, she had crossed a line. And Luca DeSantis was no longer just her enemy. He was becoming her undoing. Trust didn't arrive all at once. It crept in quietly. In shared silences. In late-night conversations that never crossed certain lines. In the way Luca DeSantis began to look for Ava in every room before speaking. She noticed it before he did. The shift. The subtle change in how his body angled toward her. How his voice lowered when he said her name. How his hand lingered just a second too long when guiding her through crowded spaces. Luca didn't fall easily. But when he did, it would be violent. And Ava was standing directly in its path. You're not eating. Ava glanced up from her plate, startled. They were alone in the penthouse dining room, city lights flickering like distant stars beyond the glass. I'm fine, she said. Luca didn't respond immediately. He watched her the way he watched enemies, intently calculating what she wasn't saying. You disappear into your head sometimes, he said. Where do you go? The question was quiet, dangerously sincere. Ava felt the weight of it press against her chest. Does it matter? She asked. Yes, Luca replied without hesitation. It matters to me. Her breath caught. That was new. Later that night, Luca's world reminded her what it really was. A rival faction made a move, subtle, strategic, meant to provoke. Ava overheard enough to understand one thing. This war wasn't business. It was personal. You don't need to be here for this, Luca said, his voice colder now, armored again. Go upstairs. No, Ava replied. I won't hide. The room went silent. Men stared. No one defied Luca DeSantis. Except her. He studied her for a long moment. Then unexpectedly he nodded. Good, he said. Then listen carefully. That night Ava learned names. Faces. Organizations that had been responsible for fires, massacres, disappearances. And then she heard one name that made the world tilt. Merino Group. Her blood ran cold. Her father's company. The one that had burned 6 years ago. The one Luca DeSantis had absorbed after its mysterious collapse. Her hands trembled. Luca noticed immediately. Ava, he asked sharply. She stood too fast, chair scraping loudly across the floor. I need air, she said, already moving away. Luca followed. On the balcony, the truth clawed its way out of her chest. My family died because of you. The words shattered the night. Luca froze. Slowly, carefully, he turned to face her. What did you say? Ava's eyes burned. The Merino Group, she said. That was my father's company. There was a fire. Fraud charges. We lost everything. My parents didn't survive the fallout. Silence. Then Luca exhaled, long, heavy. I didn't order their deaths, he said. That doesn't make you innocent, Ava snapped. No, he agreed quietly. It doesn't. That honesty hurt more than denial ever could. Luca stepped closer, his voice low. I was younger then, he said. And I was fighting men who would have destroyed everything I built. I made choices. Ava's chest ached. Choices that ruined my life. Yes. He didn't look away. I live with that, Luca said. Every day. Tears burned her eyes. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. He was supposed to be a villain. Not a man who carried regret like a shadow. You should leave, he added suddenly. Tonight. Her heart cracked. And if I don't? His jaw tightened. Then I won't be able to protect you from myself. She didn't leave. Instead, she stepped closer, close enough to feel the heat of him, the restrained violence barely contained beneath his skin. You already have, she whispered. Luca's restraint snapped. His hands framed her face, his forehead resting against hers, but he didn't kiss her. That control was more devastating than any touch. You're dangerous to me, he said. And I don't lose control. Maybe you already are, Ava replied. His breath shuddered. But he stepped back. Not tonight. Later, alone in her room, Ava collapsed onto the bed. Her revenge plan lay in pieces around her. Because the man she was meant to destroy wasn't just her enemy anymore. He was her protector. Her temptation. Her greatest mistake. And somewhere deep inside, a terrible truth settled in. If Luca DeSantis ever learned why she was really there, he wouldn't hesitate to break her. Just like she was breaking him. The city looked different that night. Sharper. Colder. As if it already knew what was about to be lost. Ava stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the black dress Luca had chosen for her. Elegant. Dangerous. The kind of dress worn by women who belonged at a king's side. Her phone vibrated. Unknown number. Tonight. Midnight. Dock 47. Her breath caught. This was it. The final step. One message from her. And Luca DeSantis's empire would bleed. She locked the phone and slipped it into her clutch. When she stepped into the living room, Luca was waiting. He looked lethal in black, jacket open, weapon concealed, authority radiating from him effortlessly. His gaze softened when he saw her. You look beautiful, he said. The word hit harder than it should have. Thank you, Ava replied, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside her. Luca extended his hand. He took it. And with that single touch, she crossed the last line. The gala was crowded with elites who smiled too easily and watched too closely. Music flowed. Glasses clinked. Secrets exchanged and whispers. Luca never left Ava's side. His hand rested at her waist, protective, possessive, sending a clear message to anyone watching. He felt it. The claim. And for a brief, dangerous moment she wanted it to be real. You're quiet again, Luca murmured into her ear. I'm just taking it all in. He tilted her chin up slightly. Don't disappear on me tonight, he said. Her chest tightened. I won't, she lied. Midnight arrived like a gunshot. Ava excused herself, slipping away toward the terrace. Her phone vibrated again. No. Her fingers trembled as she typed the message she had rehearsed 1,000 times. That across the city men would move. Weapons would be drawn. And Luca DeSantis would be exposed. She told herself she felt relief. She felt nothing. She didn't see Luca behind her until it was too late. Who are you texting? He asked quietly. Her heart slammed. She turned slowly, forcing a smile. Just a friend. Luca held out his hand. Give it to me. Silence stretched between them. This was the moment. Run or trust. Ava placed the phone in his palm. Luca's expression didn't change as he read the message. But something inside him did. When he looked up, the warmth in his eyes was gone. Doc 47, he said softly. Interesting choice. She couldn't breathe. Luca. Don't, he said. The single word cut deeper than any blade. Alarms began to sound in the distance. Chaos rippled through the city. Luca handed the phone back to her. You had every chance to leave, he said calmly. Instead, you stayed long enough to destroy me. Tears filled Ava's eyes. I didn't plan to fall for you. His jaw tightened. That was your mistake. Security rushed in, weapons drawn. Get her out, Luca ordered coldly. No. Ava cried. Please, let me explain. Luca leaned in close, his voice deadly quiet. You didn't just betray my empire, he said. You betrayed me. Gunfire echoed outside. Explosions rocked the docks. Luca turned away from her without another word. That hurt more than anything else. As Ava was dragged toward the exit, she realized the truth too late. She had won her revenge. And lost everything. Hours later, Ava sat alone in a safe house she didn't recognize. Her phone buzzed one last time. Luca, if I ever see you again, you run. Tears streamed down her face. Because the man she loved hadn't killed her. And that mercy would haunt them both. The city burned quietly. No headlines. No sirens loud enough to warn the innocent. Just men disappearing. Shipments vanishing. And blood washing into the cracks of New York's underworld. Luca DeSantis unleashed hell. Those who had moved against him never saw it coming. Boardrooms turned into crime scenes. Private jets never reached their destinations. Names were erased. Efficiently, permanently. But no matter how many enemies fell, Ava was the one ghost he couldn't hunt. She disappeared completely. New identity. New face in the crowd. A life reduced to survival. Safe houses. Sleepless nights. Constant fear. Every shadow felt like Luca. Every dark car made her heart race. Not because she feared death, but because she feared seeing him again. Weeks passed. Then months. The war ended the way wars always did. With one king standing and everyone else buried. Luca emerged victorious. But hollow. The penthouse felt empty now. Too quiet. Too clean. Her presence haunted every room. The chair she used to sit in. The balcony where she challenged him. The silence where her voice should have been. She's gone, his right-hand man finally said. We've searched everywhere. Luca didn't respond. He stared out at the city like it owed him something. She's alive, he said. How do you know? Because if she were dead, Luca replied coldly, I would feel it. Ava tried to move on. She found work under another name. Lived small. Quiet. Invisible. But peace never came. She dreamed of him constantly. His voice. His hands stopping just short of her skin. The way he looked at her that last night, not with hate, but devastation. She pressed a hand to her chest one night as tears slipped silently down her face. I'm sorry, she whispered into the darkness. He would never hear it. The attack came without warning. Wrong place. Wrong time. Ava barely escaped, heart pounding as she ran through rain-soaked streets. She ducked into an alley, breath ragged, and froze. A familiar presence filled the space. Slow footsteps. Controlled. Heavy with menace. You never learned how to disappear, Luca's voice said calmly. Her knees weakened. She turned. He stood there in the shadows, darker than she remembered, eyes colder, but burning with something far more dangerous than rage. Luca, she whispered. You should have kept running, he said. Tears filled her eyes. I never stopped. Silence stretched. Then Luca spoke again. I let you live, he said quietly. Do you know how many men died for less? I know, Ava replied, voice breaking. And I'll carry that forever. He stepped closer. Every instinct screamed at her to flee. He didn't. Why didn't you kill me? She asked. His jaw tightened. Because despite everything, Luca said, I still can't. Sirens echoed in the distance. Luca looked away first. You're still a liability, he said. To me. I don't want to be, Ava whispered. That doesn't matter. He turned to leave. Luca, she said desperately. He stopped. For what it's worth, she continued, loving you was the only honest thing I ever did. For a moment she thought he might come back. Instead he said quietly, then it will be the thing that destroys us both. And he disappeared into the night, leaving Ava shaking, and Luca DeSantis angrier than he had ever been. Power never felt the same after her. Luca DeSantis sat alone in his office long after midnight, the city glowing beneath him like a kingdom he no longer wanted. He had everything. Money, control, fear. And none of it could silence her name in his head. Ava. He was supposed to be a lesson. Instead she became a wound. The past caught up with him faster than he expected. A surviving faction, men who had lost everything in the war, made their move. Not against his empire. Against her. The message arrived without warning. A grainy photo. A familiar face. Bound. Bruised. Alive. Luca's blood ran cold. The sender didn't demand money. They demanded him. Ava woke to pain. Concrete floor. Rusted chains. The smell of salt and oil. The docks. She laughed weakly at the irony. Even now Luca's world refused to let her go. You're the king's weakness, a voice sneered from the shadows. And weaknesses get cut out. Ava lifted her head, defiant despite the fear burning in her chest. He won't come, she said. But deep down, he hoped she was wrong. Luca didn't bring an army. He came alone. That decision shocked everyone who knew him. You're walking into a trap, his men warned. Yes, Luca replied. But it's mine. At Dock 47 the air was thick with tension. Men circled him with weapons raised. Then he saw her. Bruised. Pale. Still unbroken. Something inside him shattered. Let her go, Luca said calmly. This ends with me. Ava's heart cracked open. No, she whispered. Don't. Their captor laughed. Love really does make fools of kings. The gunshot echoed like thunder. Chaos exploded. Luca moved fast, faster than anyone expected. Shots rang out. Bodies fell. He reached Ava, cutting her free, pulling her against him as if she were the only thing anchoring him to the world. You came, she breathed. I always will, he said. The words were raw, unfiltered. Truth at last. They escaped as the docks burned behind them. In the car, silence pressed heavily between them. Ava finally spoke. You should have let me die, she said softly. Luca slammed the brakes, turning to her. Don't ever say that, he said fiercely. Your life matters. More than my empire. More than my sins. Tears filled her eyes. You can't love me and still be this man, she said. And I can't love you if you stay him. The truth landed between them. Heavy. Unavoidable. By dawn Luca made his decision. He dismantled what he could. Handed power to men he trusted less but needed. Burned bridges he had built in blood. It wasn't redemption. But it was a beginning. Ava watched him pack in silence. What happens now? She asked. Luca looked at her. The woman who ruined him saved him and became his soul all at once. Now, he said, we choose. Some endings don't arrive with explosions. They come quietly. With suitcases by the door. With sunrise bleeding into a room full of memories. With two people standing on opposite sides of a life they can no longer return to. Ava watched Luca DeSantis fold the last of his clothes into a black bag. The man who once ruled empires now packed like someone learning how to leave. Once I go, Luca said without looking at her. There's no coming back. I know, Ava replied. That was the price. They drove out of the city before anyone noticed. No convoy. No protection. Just a single car moving toward an uncertain future. Hours passed in silence. Finally Luca spoke. I don't deserve a normal life, he said. Not after everything I've done. Ava turned to him. Redemption isn't about deserving, she said. It's about choosing better anyway. He glanced at her, something fragile in his eyes. You still believe in me, he murmured. I believe in who you're trying to become. That was enough. They stopped at a quiet coastal town just before dusk. No one recognized him here. No fear followed him. For the first time in his life, Luca DeSantis was just a man. That night, they sat on the beach, waves brushing the shore like whispered promises. Do you regret it? Luca asked. Your revenge. Ava leaned into him. I regret the hate, she said. Not the love. He exhaled, resting his forehead against hers. I loved you the moment you challenged me, he admitted. I just didn't know what to do with it. She smiled sadly. Neither did I. Years later, rumors still circulated. Some said Luca DeSantis was dead. Others swore he still watched from the shadows. The truth was simpler. He chose to disappear. And Ava chose to stay. Together. On a quiet morning, Ava stood on the porch of their small home, sunlight warming her skin. Luca joined her, older now, calmer. Human. He wrapped an arm around her waist. Do you ever miss it? She asked. The power. Luca shook his head. I have everything I need. She rested her head against his chest, listening to a steady heartbeat that once belonged to a king. Now it belonged to love. Some love stories are written in blood. Others are written in survival. Theirs was written in choice. And that choice changed everything.